Well, the fall film festival season is finally upon us, and so it's time for my annual very early Oscar predictions video. Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender, and can you feel it in the air? Fall is coming. That means we're getting some amazing movies very soon. I'm going to the Toronto Film Festival for the very first time in just a few days. And with the Telluride Film Festival and Venice Film Festival starting up right now, basically, I thought it was time for my very early Oscar predictions video. So like the last 2 years, I break this up into 3 parts. The first part, I talk about any movie that's already been released or has screened at a film festival like Cannes. Any films that have already come out, have been seen, that might be Oscar contenders. The second part is talking about all the fall film festival movies that are playing at Venice, Telluride, Toronto, New York, I think are going to be big players next award season. And then the third part is films opening in like November, December that aren't getting a film festival run, but that I do think are going to receive Oscar nominations. And at the very end of the video, I will give you my very early Oscar predictions for Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Picture. Are you ready? Let's start with Part 1, films that have already opened or screened. Dune Part 2 has to be where we begin. This movie came out way back on March 1st, and we all knew that first weekend this was going to be an awards player. Now that's very early in the year to open and then get a bunch of Oscar nominations. Like March 1st was a while ago. As great as Dune Part 2 is, I get a little nervous that it might underperform at the next year's Oscar ceremony. I think it's pretty well safe in Best Picture, but I don't think it's going to make it into director, any acting categories. Screenplay, maybe, but I do think Dune Part 2's best chances at some Oscar nominations are going to be in the technical categories, where it should hopefully win at least 2 or 3 prizes on Oscar night. Challengers is a question mark. Is Challengers going to get in at the Oscars? I sure hope so, because at this moment, at the end of August, it is still my favorite film I've seen so far this year. That will probably change very soon. As I said, I'm going to Toronto in a few days. I'm sure Challengers will drop a little bit, but I love that movie so much. I mean, even if it only got film editing and original score, like I'll be happy, even though I think it deserves to get into Best Picture, maybe even an acting category like for Zendaya. I just think it came out too early in the year to be a major contender, but if there is a significant awards campaign of some kind for Challengers, I do think it can play some kind of a role this next award season. Now, this past summer, there wasn't much in terms of like awards movies. We didn't get a Barbenheimer, of course. Like there was Kinds of Kindness, which I thought was a little underwhelming, and that's not going to play a role next award season. There was Inside Out 2, which is going to be a contender, an animated feature. I don't think it's going to get into like picture and a bunch of other categories. There's Sing Sing, which I still haven't seen. It opened in LA and New York in mid-July, I think. And in my town, it is still not opened. Like it's only currently, I think, in about 100 theaters around the country. So when it eventually comes out, I guess September maybe, I will see it. It has had crazy awards buzz ever since its premiere at last year's Toronto Film Festival. So many people I look up to who predict the Oscars have had Sing Sing right at the top for Best Picture, Best Actor for Coleman Domingo. I feel like it's been very quiet. Like this release pattern for Sing Sing hasn't been going very well for A24. At least that's how I feel about it right now. I mean, from what I've heard, it's a great movie, and I still think it's going to do well. I don't know if it's like in the number 1 place to win Best Picture at the Oscars right now. I think it's going to get into Picture and Actor, maybe some other categories. But like A24, get this movie out. Get it around the country. Let us all see it before we make our final Oscar predictions. Now let's talk briefly about the Cannes Film Festival from May, where two big awards players premiered there, and I do think we're going to be talking about over the next few months. Those films are Anora and Emilia Perez. These two movies, I think, are very likely getting into Best Picture, Best Actress, maybe some other acting categories, maybe Best Director. Like Sean Baker, who made Anora, has never received an Oscar nomination. Like, he wasn't even nominated for the screenplay to the Florida Project, which surprises me. I loved Red Rocket so much, and Anora won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. I'm hearing rave reviews for Mikey Madison, who plays the lead role in Anora. She might get into actress. I'm really excited to see Anora at the Toronto Film Festival. Like, I'm going to try to see it very early on, maybe the second morning I'm there. I will have a full review for you of Anora as soon as possible. Same thing with Emilia Perez, which has also had a ton of buzz out of Cannes and will also be playing at Toronto. I'm hearing Carla Sofia Gascon might get into Best Actress. I'm excited to see her performance. I'm seeing this movie on a lot of lists for Best Picture contenders, so Emilia Perez is also a must-see, and I do think is going to play a role this coming award season. One movie out of Cannes I don't think is going to be an Oscar contender, sadly in some ways, is Megalopolis, which just had too much of a divisive reaction. Some people I look up to gave it like 1 star, 1.5 stars on Letterboxd. And with it opening at the end of September, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see like a Best Director nomination for Francis Ford Coppola at the Oscars. Maybe it gets into a couple technical categories. Maybe it shows up in Best Picture at Critics' Choice or something. But yeah, I don't see much happening for Megalopolis. And then going way back to Sundance, last January, I attended in person this year. I saw 30 films, and there were really only 2 movies I saw that I thought could maybe be Oscar contenders. The first one is The Outrun, starring Saoirse Ronan. I don't think it will really be contending in any other category but Best Actress. She is a force of nature in that movie. I think she should be in the running to win for that performance in The Outrun. I know she's going to be up for some things for Blitz, but I'm hearing rumors that she might go supporting actress for Blitz and lead actress for The Outrun. I think that might be the right call because she is so bonkers great in The Outrun. I hope she's a contender for that performance this year, and A Real Pain, where Kieran Culkin is just a riot in that movie. He is so funny, so unusual, so unpredictable, and I do think if he gets into supporting actor, you could argue it's lead. But Jesse Eisenberg is a little bit more the eyes of that movie. He's kind of the lead. Kieran Culkin is in a lot of the movie. It could be category fraud a little bit in supporting, but I don't think he's going to have a chance in lead actor for that performance. That would have to go supporting. If that is the case, I could see Kieran Culkin getting his first Oscar nomination next year. All right, that takes me to part 2, the fall festivals. There are a lot of movies to talk about here, none of which any of us has seen. But if you've been playing this game long enough, there are certain factors to the movies that are definitely going to be Oscar contenders. Let's start with Conclave, which I do see easily getting into Best Picture, Best Actor for Ralph Fiennes, maybe Best Supporting Actress for Isabella Rossellini. From the trailer that's been released, it just looks very awards friendly. It looks like it has some suspense in it, but it's mostly a drama. I mean, the production design, the costume design, the cinematography, everything looks like it's going to be really well done in Conclave. And it's directed by Edward Berger, who made the recent All Quiet on the Western Front, which was a huge player at both BAFTA and the Oscars. And so honestly, the only thing that gives me pause about Conclave is that PG rating. Like, it's rated PG, and that's a little weird. It looks like it should be rated R, if not PG-13. I do think Conclave is going to do very well, and Ralph Fiennes might find himself the frontrunner for Best Actor this year. He has never won an Oscar. He deserved to win way back in the 90s for Schindler's List, and that is going to be a part of his awards campaign, to be sure. And so Ralph Fiennes in Best Actor, watch out. The Piano Lesson, I'm very excited about. I'm not sure the Piano Lesson will get into Best Picture. It's based on a play. It might be kind of a quiet success, more than it's like, oh my god, get it into Best Picture and Best Director and all of these things. But Netflix is putting it out in either November or December. It's going to have a lot of eyeballs on it. And I think if there's one category the Piano Lesson is going to do very well in, it's Best Supporting Actor for Samuel L. Jackson. As I've talked about in videos throughout the years, it's kind of crazy that Jackson only has the one Oscar nomination for Pulp Fiction. And like, it's time. It is way overdue. Like, it's time for Samuel L. Jackson to get his second Oscar nomination, and it's time for him to finally win. I think if his performance in The Piano Lesson is extraordinary, which I'm expecting it to be, I do think he is going to be the frontrunner in Best Supporting Actor. Now, The Piano Lesson might get into other categories. Danielle Deadwyler, I'm hoping, gets into Best Supporting Actress because her performance in Till, not getting into Best Actress 2 years ago, was so absurd. Like, how did that get snubbed? I will never understand it. So yeah, here's hoping for Deadwyler, here's hoping for Jackson, and maybe The Piano Lesson will do even better than we're expecting. Maybe it'll get into Best Picture as well. The Room Next Door has a lot going for it. This is another film I'm definitely seeing at Toronto. I mean, come on, it's Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton, and it's directed by Pedro Almodovar. I believe it's his first English language feature film, and so it just feels like the kind of movie that even if it misses picture, will get at least one acting nomination for either Moore or Swinton. I've seen Julianne Moore's name on some Best Actress lists. I assume this won't be a Thelma and Louise situation where both of them go for lead actress. That doesn't happen anymore. One will be campaigned for lead and the other will be campaigned in supporting. And if it's really good, like if The Room Next Door is an amazing movie, I could see them both getting in at the Oscars. Now, will it get into picture, technical categories? I'm not sure yet, but I am feeling pretty confident about the acting categories, at least one of them. Queer, I am very excited about. Daniel Craig is the star, and he's already getting a ton of awards buzz. He's an actor who's never received an Oscar nomination. That would be really cool. And the movie is directed by Luca Guadagnino. Like, what a moment he is having. He directed Challengers, of course. He just wrapped a new movie starring Andrew Garfield and Julia Roberts. And he has Queer coming out in the next few weeks. And it's playing at Toronto. I can't wait to see it. It doesn't have a distributor yet. And there has been some pause about going all in on predicting Queer yet. Maybe they will hold it until 2025. But I don't see that happening. That would be surprising to me. I could see it being a December limited release, and then it goes wide in January. I'm hopeful. I hope it comes out this year. I would love to see Luca Guadagnino get into Best Director. Like, that would be awesome. And Daniel Craig in Best Actor, like, it's time. Come on. Night Bitch. Night Bitch. Is this going to be an Oscar player? Is Amy Adams going to get her 7th Oscar nomination? Boy, I hope so. Like, oh my god. I mean, one of my signature videos on this channel is Amy Adams and the Elusive Oscar. I made that video 2 years ago, and I have been waiting for her next Oscar play. Like, it's been a while. She's been in things the last few years, but basically everything since Vice has crashed and burned when it comes to the Oscars. Night Bitch, I have been kind of suspicious of. I'm like, with that title, with that premise, like, can it really be an Oscar contender? I don't think it's a drama. I think it's more of like a horror comedy of some kind. Like, I'm a little doubtful, no matter how good it is, that it's going to be a significant contender at the Oscars in any other category but Best Actress. As we learned with Emma Stone and Poor Things, the Academy is open to weird movies, like strange, surreal films with bonkers, crazy lead performances. If Amy Adams in Night Bitch is on another level, if she is fantastic in this movie, there is going to be an awards campaign for her. And I think a lot of people are like, okay, Amy Adams is one of our best. She just turned 50 years old. Let's give her an Academy Award. Let's give her a 7th nomination and let's see her win. I could see there being a narrative for Amy Adams in the months to come if the movie's really great and if she is really great in it. I promise you, I will see Night Bitch at the Toronto Film Festival. I will put up a review for you here as soon as I possibly can, and I will let you know. Is Amy Adams coming for her 7th Oscar nomination? Could she potentially win? We will all find out very soon. Now, sight unseen, I do think the current frontrunner for Best Actress at the Oscars, like right now, is Angelina Jolie for Maria. That film is going to Telluride and it's going to Venice. It's not going to Toronto, which I'm very sad about, so I won't have a review for you of Maria. We'll see what the reviews say. I just feel like it's been a long time since we've had a really great performance in the movies by Angelina Jolie. She won Best Supporting Actress like 25 years ago for Girl Interrupted. She is overdue, I would say, for a Best Actress win. Maria is directed by Pablo Larraín, who made Jackie and Spencer, both of which got its leading lady into Best Actress at the Oscars. Now, of course, Natalie Portman and Kristen Stewart didn't win, so it might be the case with Maria where Angelina Jolie is just happy to be there, kind of like with Changeling. She gets nominated everywhere but doesn't win. That could happen. I think it will depend on how good the movie is. If Angelina Jolie gives a terrific performance, but the movie is only so-so, I think that might hurt her chances to win things. But I will be shocked, like totally shocked, if Angelina Jolie is not nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars for Maria. I think that's happening 100%. And so we will see in the coming days and weeks what the reviews are like for Maria. If it becomes a significant player in other categories like picture, director, screenplay, and those things, like just you wait, Angelina Jolie might be coming for Oscar number 2. Blitz, the new film from Steve McQueen, I also feel pretty confident about. It's premiering, I believe, at the New York Film Festival in a few weeks. And that film, like The Outrun, has Saoirse Ronan. And this could be a year where Ronan gets into both lead actress and supporting actress. We'll see how that plays out. This is an Apple TV Plus movie, so Blitz could go the way of Napoleon and not be a significant contender in picture, director, and things, and just get a few technical prizes. It'll depend on how good or not so good the movie is. At this moment, I do feel like Blitz is going to be one of the big awards contenders of the year. Like Steve McQueen could potentially be the frontrunner in Best Director. It could be a significant contender to win Best Picture. We all just kind of have to wait and see, but I am feeling good about Blitz. Joker Folie à Deux. What is going to happen with this movie come award season? It's going to be a big hit at the box office. I saw the most recent trailer a few weeks back before Trap, and I was like, this looks pretty frickin' awesome. Like the cinematography in that movie, the performances from Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, I think are going to be very good. But to be honest, I am not feeling super confident that Joker Folie à Deux is going to be a huge awards player. It's going to get in at the Oscars, certainly, in technical categories, but I will not be surprised if it does not get into Best Picture, it does not get into the acting categories. I do think the recent controversy with Joaquin Phoenix walking out of that Todd Haynes movie a few days before production was about to commence, and then the movie never happened, that is going to hurt his awards chances for Joker 2. And then Lady Gaga, I have heard rumblings she might go supporting actress. If that's the case, she's probably in. If she goes lead actress, I could see her missing. Remember, at this time, 3 years ago, we were very confident she was going to get a Best Actress Oscar nomination for House of Gucci. And she got in for that movie almost everywhere, and then she missed the Oscar nomination. It is not guaranteed that Lady Gaga gets an Oscar nomination for Joker 2. Like, she could easily miss for that, and so we'll wait and see. If everybody goes berserk for this movie, everybody loves it, and it does really, really, really well at the box office, then I'll think it has a strong chance of getting into Best Picture and an acting category for Lady Gaga. But right now, I think it might only get into technical categories. Nickel Boys, I don't know much about. I believe it's premiering at New York Film Festival. It might play at Telluride. We shall see very soon here. It's based on a very popular book. I have seen it on a ton of lists to get into like Best Picture, maybe an acting category or two. Again, I don't know too much about this one. But if it's really great, I could see Nickel Boys also doing well at the upcoming Oscars. I would love to see a bunch of films with primarily black casts recognized, like The Piano Lesson, like Sing Sing, like Nickel Boys, like Bring It On. That would be awesome. The Wild Robot is a new animated film playing at Toronto. I feel like could be the main competition for Inside Out 2. Like, these could be the two frontrunners to win the Oscar, and it looks beautiful. I will probably get around to The Wild Robot. I will let you know how great or not so great it is. And then a few more fall festival titles to throw out here. I'm not going to talk about all of them. We would be here for 2 more hours. And I'm not so sure a lot of these films playing at like the Toronto Film Festival are necessarily going to be awards players, but here's a few more to discuss. Hard Truths is the new film by Mike Leigh, and it stars Academy Award nominee Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who was nominated for a Mike Leigh film way back in the 90s for Secrets and Lies. And the thing about Hard Truths is that it didn't play at Cannes, which I think some people thought it might. It's premiering at Toronto, and it's being released by Bleecker Street, which hasn't had a great run of like smaller movies that get in at the Oscars the last few years. So I'm a little doubtful about that movie's chances. I am going to try to see it, and if it's really, really good, worth seeing, maybe an Academy Awards contender, I will let you know. We Live in Time, starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh, I am hoping to see in my first 2 days at the Toronto Film Festival, and I really, really hope it's good. The trailer that came out a few weeks ago gave me some pause. I was like, this might be a movie that just comes and goes and doesn't really get into the Oscars, but I love those 2 stars so much. It's directed by John Crowley, who made Brooklyn, one of my favorite films of 2015. I sincerely hope this movie is more than just that horse meme that's been going around the internet. And personal note, even if We Live in Time isn't the greatest movie, if I get to see Andrew Garfield in person, I'm going to be a happy man. There's Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman. I am kind of lukewarm on that one. I could see that movie not going anywhere, but anytime Nicole Kidman has a new movie, like playing at the fall festivals, you have to take it seriously. She's a 5-time Academy Award nominee. She won for The Hours. She was nominated just a few years ago for Being the Ricardos. So if she gives an excellent performance in Baby Girl, she will be in the conversation. So let's see how that movie turns out. Saturday Night, directed by Jason Reitman, about the early days of SNL, looks like a lot of fun. It's opening in theaters in early October. It's playing at some festivals. It's going to Toronto. And apparently, from what I've heard, it's going to be one of the hardest tickets to get at Toronto. Everybody wants to see Saturday Nights. The question is, will Saturday Nights be an Oscar player? It might just be a very nice movie that people like, but it's not really considered for anything other than maybe screenplay at the Oscars. I have my eye on Gabriel LaBelle. He plays a young Lorne Michaels, and he was so good in The Fabelmans a couple years back. I think he's a very talented young actor. He could maybe be in the conversation for Best Supporting Actor. We shall see. And then there's probably like 10 more films I could talk about playing at the fall festivals that might be Oscar contenders. But the last one I want to mention in this video today is The Brutalist, starring Adrian Brody. It is a 3.5-hour epic that is playing opening weekend at Toronto, and it's extremely long, but I am hearing great things about The Brutalist. I feel like that could be one of the awards sleepers right now. A movie nobody's really talking about, but in a few months, it could be a major Oscar contender. Watch out for The Brutalist. Okay, now we have arrived to part 3, where we talk about films that are coming out in November, December, that are skipping the fall festivals entirely. There's not too many titles to talk about here. I think there are 2 significant films that are going to be huge Oscar contenders that the majority of people aren't seeing until at least November. The first one is Gladiator 2. Even though last year's Napoleon didn't do as well as some hoped, especially when it came to award season, I do think Ridley Scott's follow-up to Napoleon, this year's Gladiator 2, is likely going to do well. I could see Gladiator 2 getting into Best Picture, Best Director, maybe Best Actor for Paul Mescal, and probably Best Supporting Actor for Denzel Washington at the upcoming Oscars. I mean, the first Gladiator film won Best Picture. Russell Crowe won Best Actor. Like, we have to take Gladiator 2 seriously. It could do very well. Ridley Scott is like 87 years old, and he still has never won an Oscar. What if Ridley Scott became the frontrunner to win Best Director this year? That would be cool. I'm not holding my breath or anything, but I do think Scott winning an Academy Award after all of these decades would be fantastic. And then the other significant film bypassing the fall festivals, I do think gets into Best Actor and maybe Best Picture, is A Complete Unknown, starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. I mean, a biopic released around Christmas. It's directed by James Mangold, who made Walk the Line. Unless the movie sucks, unless it's just not good, I do think A Complete Unknown is going to be a big awards player, especially for Timothée Chalamet. And then there's Moana 2 opening at Thanksgiving. That might get into Best Animated Feature. There's Wicked, of course. Wicked is going to get some technical nominations. I worry because it's part 1 of 2. It's not really going to be considered for Best Picture, any of the acting categories. Like, Cynthia Erivo is an Oscar nominee for Harriet a few years ago. Like, if she is really bonkers great in Wicked, I could see her name being tossed around. She's definitely getting in at Golden Globes. But right now, I only see Wicked at the Oscars getting into the technical categories, like in music and things. And finally, Nosferatu. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu is opening on Christmas Day. And I know horror films don't ever get into the Oscars. Like, we have maybe one title every few years that gets a technical nomination. Occasionally there's a Get Out or a Silence of the Lambs that get into some of the top categories. I don't see a vampire movie released at the tail end of the year getting into like Best Picture or Best Director or anything. But I could see Nosferatu picking up a couple technical Oscar nominations, and the genre fan in me would be so excited. So that takes us to the end here, but I promise it's just the beginning. I will be making my early Oscar prediction videos for all the acting categories, screenplay, director, picture. Throughout September, I'm going to be making a ton of Toronto Film Festival reviews. I'm going to try to cover at least 10 of them, maybe even more, so keep an eye out for the film reviews I'll be doing throughout September. And now, just for fun, here are my very early Oscar predictions in Best Actor, Best Actress, and Best Picture. In Best Actor, I have Adrien Brody, The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet, A Complete Unknown, Daniel Craig, Queer, Coleman Domingo, Sing Sing, and Ray Fiennes, Conclave. In Best Actress, I have Amy Adams, Night Bitch, Carla Sofia Gascon, Emilia Perez, Angelina Jolie, Maria, Mikey Madison, Honora, and Saoirse Ronan, The Outrun. And in Best Picture, my list at this moment is Honora, Blitz, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, Gladiator 2, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my very early Oscar predictions? Do you agree with my picks, or do you think I have it all wrong? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.